Lewis Hamilton wins the Turkish Grand Prix and is a seven-time champion of the world.
Get in there, Lewis. That is it, mate. Mercedes AMG Petronas 7 times. 7 times, mate.
Mercedes have enjoyed a stint at the top of the F1 ladder for quite some time now. Some may say that this type of success makes you complacent. Complacency, when everyone is watching you, can cause problems. Everyone in the F1 sphere had their sights set on Mercedes coming off the back of the 2021 season. What we witnessed was a complete roller coaster of events for the Silver Arrows.
It's a big shock here in Saudi Arabia tonight. Lewis Hamilton, for the first time since Brazil 2017, has been knocked out in Q1. And it is not since the Japanese Grand Prix in 2012 that Mercedes have failed to reach Q3.
Mercedes would go on to finish third in the constructors' standings after battling with Ferrari, who had their own set of issues but finished with 515 points, 39 points ahead of Mercedes. The pressing matter wasn't the third place finish, it was the 98.5 points delta between this season and the one prior. Let's rewind back to the start of the 2022 season and see where the problems started for the Brackley-based team.
The buzzword for F1 2022 already seems to be porpoising.
The whole underfloor of the car has been turned essentially into a wing, so the whole car takes a wing car right down to the road. What happens is, as the car gets sucked down by the forces, the downforce generated by the underside of that wing, that
Cars.
Yeah, it looks rough, really rough. Down at turn 1, it's the high speed where it's happening, and the car it looks like it's bumping really hard, bouncing, as Sam's describing.
The new regulations at the start of the 2022 season brought out an issue with all of the cars, and that was porpoising. What is porpoising? So porpoising is essentially when the car is so close to the ground that it bounces up and down, and then it's a weird amalgamation of rapid up and down motion. It's almost like the car is oscillating. While this may seem like a minor issue, it has very, very serious racing and medical implications for all the F1 teams. We got to see the full effect of it over the course of the Azerbaijan Grand Prix, where Hamilton struggled to get out of the car as it was too much to bear for the 7-time world champion. This is what caused a lot of problems for the team moving ahead, and while Andrew Shovlin, the trackside engineer, knew about the issues, he said in his own words that perhaps the most complicated thing we've ever had to get our teeth into. The only easy solution was to raise the floor of the car, but that would mean that the car would be slower going into turns and getting out of them, losing essential lap time. As the season progressed, we slowly started seeing Mercedes creeping back up to the top. But they were still behind the front pack, namely Red Bull and Ferrari. Both Red Bull and Ferrari seemed to be in impeccable shape. Why weren't the Silver Arrows able to resolve the issue any sooner? Was it maybe that they expected other teams to be facing the same problems and simply ignored them? What could be the case? Only time will tell. We still don't know for sure. Maybe it could be one of those issues, or maybe none of them at all. But what we do see are the consequences it has brought to the team. If the retirements or DNFs are anything to go by, then Mercedes fared a lot better, having the least retirements compared to any team over the course of the whole season. Russell suffered from one, which was during the British Grand Prix, where Alfa Romeo's Zhou Guanyu had a horrific crash and Russell was caught in the middle of it. The car was unable to go on and the team had to retire the car, while Hamilton had 2 DNFs. The first was at Spa during the Belgian GP, where he was in collision with the 2-time world champion Fernando Alonso, and the second one was at Abu Dhabi. While the season has been something that Mercedes would want to forget, it certainly had this silver lining to it that the car was stable compared to any other team for any mechanical issues. It looks
What
really
a
nice.
sexy car. I am in love with it.
With the issues of the 2022 season behind them, Mercedes looked to be back in top contention. But that doesn't seem to be the case. The car is just slow. How slow, you might be thinking? Well, according to Lewis, we are 1 second per lap slower than Red Bull. The season opener in Bahrain saw the 8-time Constructors' Champions losing out on the race by a long shot. Lewis finishing 5th and George finishing 7th. Both cars ran a soft, hard strategy and battled throughout, but disappointingly were unable to match the superior pace of the Red Bull, Ferrari, and Fernando Alonso's Aston Martin. The team was off the pace by 50 seconds, which seems like a very, very hard deal for Toto Wolff's band of engineers to fix. With the simulation figures saying things would be sensational with the narrow pod design, it was easy to think that Mercedes were back. But the real world had other ideas. It proved that in reality the car was not up to par with the frontrunners. Red Bull were just far too ahead. While the problems of the 2022 season did get fixed, the underlying issues that were shrouded by the porpoising problem weren't fixed. The car was just slow. This meant that the car just had a lot more drag and it just suffered in straight line speed. Can't win a race if you're losing tenths every time you enter a straight line, can you? While they still believe that they can redesign the car that would make it at least competitive with Red Bull, it seems like the engineers at Mercedes have their work cut out for them. Whether it's just a sheer lack of innovation or motivation or determination, Mercedes needs a hard look at themselves. What can they do for the next season? Can they innovate on their car? Can they fix their issues of the floor? Can they go back to a winning car while not suffering for the porpoising issues? Only time will tell. Let's just hope they can bring back the same ferocity that they did with the 8-time Constructors.